Describe the life of an NFL agent in one word.
Nonstop. No rest. No days off. Players need what they need. They want it when they want it, and they come after it. You know, I think that what's made me be successful since I started the University of Miami School of Law is no task is menial. Yeah. Nothing is beneath me. Excuses really aren't tolerated. The world's gonna pass you by like that.
Yep.
Like, it's faster than it's ever been. At the end of the day, this is $1 billion industry.
David, thank you so much for coming to the show. We have an exciting episode with Casa Loco. First thing, we're going to dive straight in. Describe the life of an NFL agent in one word.
Nonstop.
Nonstop.
Okay.
Nonstop.
Constant.
No rest.
Constant.
No days off.
Get into it.
No one cares.
What's it like?
No one cares.
No one
Your
cares.
players don't care. They're not here to hire you because you're going to go take a vacation or, your kid's sick or, obviously have great relationships with guys that love you and want your family to be fine. And obviously you build the core, but players need what they need. They want it when they want it and they come after it. And so they're not going to be upset. They're not going to be, patient. They'll find somebody else that is on call 24/7.
You said players need what they need, but what do they need? If you got the contract in, what do they need?
Yeah, so depends on what time of the year it is, obviously, right? During the season, a lot less, but Friday nights, reservations. Okay. Hey, bye week, I need a rental car. Hey, can you get me a vacation place somewhere? Like we have resorts and different partners everywhere all over the world. Hey, can you help my brother get tickets to the game? My mom and dad are coming in. Can you get me 4 hotel rooms and 4 pregame field passes and things like that? So it's pretty consistent. As you get bigger in the industry, the dumb things get diminished, right? You're not a babysitter anymore. You're a hired gun to really get guys paid and get them to the next contract. And then when they get that big contract, most guys get stability, in the form of a family and children. And then there's a whole nother, kind of level. You got to start prepping them for life after football and what happens. So it's different, like the guys that you've interviewed that are NBA players or tech billionaires or crypto billionaires or things like that. Pro football players specifically, because obviously that's my core business. You've been dealing with a lot of guys that know that there's a very, very finite time to maximize the dollars, and then it's over. And unfortunately, in our sport, it's over without really being told it's over. Very rarely do guys get to walk away on their own terms.
So those menial roles as like getting your
nothing's menial when it comes to representing players.
Sure,
they're your clients.
Sure. But
yes.
You delegate those, right?
No,
you have to do it yourself.
The phone's here. Jason, phone's here.
The new phone.
Good looking picture of Iceland this summer. But I was in Iceland this summer. Amazing. Everyone should visit it. But yeah, shout out to Iceland. It was awesome. Would love to be back, although it's probably like 16 degrees below zero. The menial tasks, they want you. Your name's on the contract. You're the guy. So, I think that what's made me be successful for this is year 30, right? And I'm only 51. Since I started the University of Miami School of Law, is no task is menial. Yeah. Nothing is beneath me, right? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, I've got amazing partners, people behind me, Nes McGraby, Brian McIntyre, support staff, and things like that. But we're not really the kind of people that are like, hey, call someone else. It's like, I'll get it done. I don't know if I messed up Jason's microphone right there, but that's the job. The job is just get it done, take care of the job, take care of the client, and get to work. And excuses really aren't tolerated. Just like them. Like you think about pro football in America, you're not allowed to make excuses for why you had a bad game or why you had a bad week. Mm-hmm. There's just a very small window of opportunity to be elite. And you have 17 games in the regular season, over basically 20 weeks with a bye week and things like that. And so, you get an injury, obviously everyone understands you're injured. You get hurt, you're out for the season, or, you miss a month or two, you're hurt. But if you make excuses for, I was late, or hey, my dog ate my homework, so to speak, and you're not ready, they find other guys that are ready. And that's the sports industry. It's just way too competitive of a business to not always be on.
Yeah, and that definitely makes sense. I mean, you see it at all levels, right? I'm sure it's even just as bad with college players now that are maybe seeking to get representation at the college level with NIL. That's probably changed so much, right?
The college programs have a real problem, right? The problem is that you are now paying players to be student, and I put student in quotes, athletes, right? And so, I have a client that made $3.5 million in college. It's hard to tell that kid, like, not that he's a bad kid, because you wouldn't get that kind of money if you were, but it's hard to tell them, like, hey, I need you at 6:15 in the morning. I need you not to be late. I need you to be, you're a pro already, right? And so the colleges, especially the bigger ones, I think somebody said they went to Florida or one of these big schools like that, Miami, they do a good job of having that real support group, that core of people that are there to make sure the players get from point A to point B. But when you're making real money, and obviously guys at Miami, guys at Florida, they're making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, there's a responsibility that comes with it. And you better be on your P's and Q's or they're going to find other players to pay the following year. And you see it also at the schools where like Ohio State's probably the best example, they have one of the most expensive rosters in the country, but you see that they're not a very high tolerance for bullshit, right? And at the end of the day, this is a $1 billion industry. That's probably why I'm a guest, right? We're talking about NFL football, where literally this past week, Stephen Ross sold at a crazy valuation of 10 plus billion. The Eagles sold a piece of their team for private equity for 8 billion and change, for like 8%. And so all of that money and that influx of money means your responsibilities have to rise up with it, and the same for college athletes.
So like, how are you balancing your role, right? So you've been doing this for 30 years, like you said, right? But you're balancing it out with like so many changes, right? We have NIL, we have the new change with private equity ownership, the NFL, right? Like, how do you stay ahead of the game? Because like that would probably upset like your day-to-day so much, right?
I think you're not trying to be ahead of the game. You're trying to be in the future of the game. And so I looked at the landscape in 2020, 2021 with NIL coming, and I hired a company to sell me. And I don't know when this is going to air, so I don't want to break news, but we can talk about it or maybe edit it out. And I was acquired by a company, and we've had our 3+ years, and now we're going to reacquire the business and take it back from a bigger conglomerate. And I think part of that was I was nervous of the learning curve of where NIL would be. The industry has shifted immensely. There's 8 agencies now. I think I'm number 5 or 6. I think Ness is number 7 or 9, 7, 8 or 9, Drew being number 1. And then there's CA agents, and there's Excel and William Morris Endeavor and Rock Nation and Clutch. And so, and obviously Athletes First. And so when there's 5 or 6 agents really controlling the industry, what's happened is the NIL side, you are in earlier than ever, and you have to deliver earlier than ever because the landscape has gotten so competitive. And Jason mentioned Dwayne Wade being here. When he played, or when Steve Stowe, who connected us, who was one of my first employees I ever had, love seeing his success.
Wow.
Yeah, Steve is super great friend, with the Miami Heat. Yeah. The NBA model of agencies basically willing to lose money for 3 to 5 years has now come into football, and that's a tough model because we don't have guaranteed contracts. We don't have player injury rates are through the roof. And so it's a very, very different competitive landscape now. And so you try to be ahead of it, like multimedia stuff, being able to be communicative about what the real expectations are for the athletes before they get into the NFL. In the old days, it used to be, hey, send me to a training facility. I'll go to that training facility for 2 months. I'll go to the NFL Combine. I'll come out of the NFL Combine. I'll get drafted, and then you're my agent. Now it's 2-3 years of doing marketing deals, doing appearances, putting them in multimedia projects, running Instagram accounts for players, getting them their own brands, getting them their own merch stores, really developing a core of a business that they then carry into pro football. And of course, not every guy's successful, right? That's the nature of pro football in America, is 50% of the draft picks are going to be out of football in 3 years. The other component that's new now is massive turnover. It's cheaper for teams to get rid of guys than it's ever been because the rookie pool, and I don't know how much you guys know about the collective bargaining agreement, but the rookie pool used to be, you'd have to give a guy $40, $50 million guaranteed if they were the first overall pick. Now that's cut in half. There's ways out of contracts. The league and the union have gotten more creative in spitting out players. And so for us as player advocates and representatives, it's more difficult because you watch your guys get shit on, and it's tough. It's tough to watch a player have his career end because of an injury, and the team just doesn't care. I tell this story all the time. Like, if you go to a college football practice or an NFL football practice, and they're on the 18-yard line going into the red zone, going into the end zone, and a kid gets hurt, they just take the practice and they move it to the other side of the field. Wow. He's hurt. He's dealing with the trainers. Like, we got to go. Time. Sorry, sound man, for those snaps.
So you haven't seen the player empowerment movement really shift into the NFL, I mean.
NFL, no, I think the players are more empowered than ever before. I really do. I think that the big agencies like ourselves have done a great job of prepping guys to understand where they are. But the mechanisms are still there to help the teams, right? The franchise tag is still there. Teams are still willing to use it. The transition tag's still there. There's still 3-4 years before you can get a new contract, right? And then there's always the Jamar Chases of the world where they feel like they're wronged because they got franchise tagged and then they got forced into playing under it. And then obviously the kids had the best year you could ever imagine on a losing team. And now it's going to be, I don't know what the number will be, but it's going to be the number 1 contract in NFL history for that position. And so, but he had to endure 20 weeks of injury risk. Yeah. And so you can protect yourself a lot more now too. There's a local guy here named Eugene Dorfman, who I helped start in the industry, who does a tremendous job at disability insurance, loss of value insurance. So there's downside protections that you have for players that the mechanisms didn't exist in the 90s and the 2000s, even into the mid 2010s. And then the colleges also insure to protect the downside for the players also. So, we've had players where they've had season-ending or career-ending injuries, or not career-ending, but season-ending injuries, and then draft affected. They're not going to get drafted in round 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. They're not going to get drafted at all. And what's happened is they've been protected because they had a downside insurance policy. So they'll get, $100,000, $300,000 lump sum payment paid out instantly for them. And so that's good. It's good protection.
And so, David, like you just mentioned something before that I was unaware of, and I think a lot of people are probably unaware of, which is that there is a loss leader concept in being an NBA agent. Yeah. There also is maybe that in being an NFL agent. You just brought up the context of downside insurance and things like that. What exactly is that, 3 to 5 year loss period? Because I would have had no idea.
So
I think most
listen,
people have never thought of
us
that.
agents, and I don't know if any other agents are listening to it, it's not great. It's a high risk business. And the rewards have been diminished too, right? When I first started in the business, you could get 4% for a contract and an add-on of 1% if you did their taxes or their financial services or bill pay. Then that got reduced to a flat 4. In 2000, I was the first ever agent to have 10 plus draft picks in the same draft. Oh, wow. I think I had 12 or 14. And people were like, this is insane. Right? How can he manage all of them? This company's never going to sustain itself. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And one of them was a top 10 pick. So it's like we had 1s and 3s and 5s and 7s and real good players. And so now it's not uncommon to see one agency with 5 first round picks, 7 first round picks, 24 guys in the draft, right? Now, the deception is that's 10, 12, 14 agents in the agency, right? And so there's been a conglomeration of management where you have the CAAs, which are obviously the biggest of the big dogs, William Morris, Endeavor, Wasserman, Rock Nation, Clutch, Vayner Sports, those guys. And then there's very few solo agents left, which is why we got gobbled up, right? Drew still has never sold. I'm sure he's been offered many times, but he's still independent. He has 6 or 7 or 8 agents underneath him. But me, up until 2022, I had no agents underneath me. For 28 years until I sold. So Ness Mugrabi is my partner and a younger guy, 26 years old, underneath me, does an incredible job and really is kind of that next gen of the things that I think I was really great at. And he brings his own seasoning and salt and pepper to it. And he's been more than I could ever have imagined. And he started me when he was 15, 16 years old. He met me in a restaurant at the Combine. And I was like, dude, what are you doing at the Combine? He's like, I want to be you. And he walked up to me and said, you're David Canter. I follow you on Twitter. Oh my God. And I was like, I thought it was a joke. I was with Brian McIntyre, my vice president. I looked back at the window and I was like, is someone hiding behind the window, saying, play a joke on that guy, fuck around with this guy. And I was like, he's like, no, I want to be you. And he was with his dad and he's like an Orthodox Jewish kid from Brooklyn, New York. And he has this amazing father, he has this amazing father. And he was like, Dad, I want to go to the Combine. I want to meet general managers. I want to listen to people talk about the business. And at 15, 14, 13, 12 years old, this kid knew what he wanted to do. And now he's doing it and he's doing it at the highest possible level that I could really ever imagine. And it's awesome to see, his growth and his maturity and how the players like him. And so to go way back to the beginning part of the interview, he helps me stay young. Right? Because a lot of times you look at me, I'm 51, I'm going to be 52 in January. It's like, oh, I don't want an old agent, right? Well, my partner's 26. Right. So there's a relation component. And so it's unique to see as the guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, who have obviously been my client for his whole career and he's year 10, started with me when he was 23, 24. I've watched him grow up and have children and get married and been at surprise birthday parties and stuff as he phases out because he plays 1 or 2, maybe 3 years more if he wants to. He certainly financially doesn't have to. You see Ness have the next gen of DeMarcus Lawrence, which in this case would be Tuli Tuipulotu on the Chargers, who he's very close with and talks to every day. And I don't have to talk to him every day because Ness does that, right? And then it's kind of like a really unique mixture. There'll be some players where both of us are handling everything at all times. Then there'll be some that just Ness is talking to, like Cole Bishop, our safety on the Bills, is starting his first game in the NFL this week. Ness is flying to Detroit to go to the game. I'm not going. I'll be in LA on Wednesday for the Chargers-Broncos game Thursday night. So it's a weird, unique dichotomy that just works incredibly well because we joke, his wife and my wife joke all the time, we're work wives. Like Ness and I talk more than our wives and I talk, and more than his wife and him talk. And that's the dynamic. You guys are work wives.
Yeah, definitely true. Yeah.
You're work wives, right? And so, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing. And the benefactor is the client. The benefactor is the person that you say, hey, put your career in my hands. I've done this 100 times. I've done it 1,000 times, and you are going to be my guy. And we are going to make sure that we don't fuck up. And we don't. I mean, we really don't fuck up. Very thankful and blessed that we've done it a long time. And we're going to branch out. We have a new sports group launching probably at the first part of the year that Ness and I are going to own and run. We've got some acquisitions that we're already talking to people because we have very, very strong vibes that our time is coming to an end, and we're working out, a very mutual, loving, emotional separation of the group that we were with for the last 3+ years. And it's time. It's time for him. It's time for me. And I think it's time for them as well, the company that acquired us.
So if we're thinking about, you mentioned a lot about the younger generation of agents, and you work with Ness, and that's awesome. But let's also think about this younger generation of players.
Sure.
Right? What makes this younger generation of players different from the players that you first started with? Yeah. The phone is everything.
This is
always
Satan.
Satan.
This is Satan.
Tell me more.
It's Satan and it's God. What it's done is it's given them more access to information than ever before. You've got the internet, you've got Instagram, which is obviously a huge component. You've got TikTok. But then you also have Call of Duty, video game component that never existed, right? Like, you wouldn't have players whose life was go to football, go to practice, go to the weight room, come home, play 6 hours of Call of Duty, right? Shout out to Call of Duty. But it's destroyed a lot of careers because guys are absolutely fucking obsessed with Madden or Call of Duty or NBA 2K, shout out Ronnie 2K. And so, those guys, those video games and the internet and Instagram, and I have young kids too. I have a 16-year-old who, Mr. Instagram, he's on Instagram all day long, and you realize he's missing the real world. But when you think about the new generation of player, a lot of them are much more prepared to become pro athlete. That's a big difference, right? The fuck around and find out component is over. There's more information. You know what it takes to be great, and you know what it takes to be elite. Here's the caveat. Just because you know it doesn't mean the laziness factor. I know it sounds weird, like lazy pro football players, lazy to a degree, right? I have some clients, I'm not going to name them, but 3 jump right into the forefront of my head that remind me of a legendary client I had for a long time, Eric Weddle. Eric was the first guy in the building and the last guy to leave. And I remember him saying this to me. He's like, look, I'm married. I have young kids. And I've said this to my wife, I'm going to do this until I cannot any longer. But when I do it, I'm fully committed. I'm all in every day. And Chanel, his wife, amazing woman, is fully committed with me, knowing that 32, 35, 37, if you get crazy lucky and play 10, 12, 15 years, and because there's luck, there's injury factors, do the team still want you? Are you still able to be at the top of your game? I'm going to then have age 33 to death to be a dad, to be with the kids. And Eric's motto is a motto that I, kind of have adopted called "Let's be great." And he would literally call you on the phone and be like, "Let's be great," and then hang up the phone. And you'd be like, "What the heck just happened?" Right? And so he exemplified for me as I was really growing into my career and becoming a top 10 agent in the industry. He exemplified what I wanted to bring, which was being great every day and really delivering what I promise on. Right? And then the new generation of player doesn't necessarily do that as much. Some guys find reasons to be the last guy in the building before the first meeting, right? The best ones, the ones that are going to be elite, the ones that are going to be great and get the big contracts, even if they're ridiculously gifted talent-wise, the reality of it is if they're not putting in the time, they will only get out of it what they put in. Football now is you are fully prepared at all times to be great. And the expectation from the organizations is there's no games playing. You just cannot be, you cannot have the mess ups. You're not going to get a second or third chance because the draft allows them to flip guys out, right? That's also why football sucks now. The quality of the game is not great, right?
Just this season, it feels like that.
No. There's been a rapid descent to the abyss of shitty ball for, I would say, probably 6 or 7 years. I think there's a direct correlation to the way the rookies are handled. I think the greed of owners is at all-time highs. And look, it's true. The value of ownership of franchises is at all-time highs too. And I think the correlation is, I remember when Dan Snyder was like one of the first owners to get a yacht. Not like a little yacht, like a real mega ship.
Right.
I think at last Super Bowl, 17 ownership groups have them, right? Wow. That's directly correlated to the evaporation of the middle class of the NFL. There's less guys making $4 to $12 million a year, and then even $4 to $8 million a year than there really have been over a long time. And the reason being is you're either paying your big guys, your quarterbacks, your number one receiver, your number one corner, your number one edge, and then you're paying rookies and cheaper players. And the roster makeup doesn't have that 28-year-old, 29-year-old veteran that's been there, seen it, swam it, and has read the book and even could help write the book to lead that next gen. And so that's the expectation with the modern age, that those kids come in game ready. The other component is the training has gotten better. The food's gotten better. The nutrition's gotten better. You see less and less guys drinking alcohol, even though I'm an owner and founder of an alcohol, and it's a terrible segue, but those guys, we might need to crack that open based on that segue, but you see less and less guys putting shit into their bodies, right? You see less and less guys understanding like, hey, if I go out and I drink hard Sunday night after the game, then I feel like crap Monday morning for my lift. If I do it again Monday night, because Tuesday's the night off in the NFL, just so you guys know, for almost every team, then I'm going to feel like shit Wednesday. I'm just going to have to sleep all day Tuesday just to recover. And so I think that Tom obviously gets a lot of credit, Tom Brady, for really focusing on nutrition. And people made fun of him, but the success was undeniable. And the guy looks incredible. You don't see a lot of the stupidity because this exists. And this is a 4K camera. And this is a Snapchat. And this is an Instagram. This is like having Jason, not to defame Jason, because certainly not to the quality of your skills, Jason. My cell phone with my 4 little weird cameras and crappy lighting. iPhone 16, shout out, I'll take a free one. Great camera, one of the best cameras. No,
seriously, it is a great camera.
And so you could like zoom into someone's up their nostrils. And so the other thing is drugs, right? There's just not as many players that do drugs. There's not as many players that are being stupid about their careers in football specifically. The Lawrence Taylor stories that you guys probably grew up hearing, and I know I grew up hearing and witnessing, and some of that stuff, a lot of that's out of the game because you can't go be a fool because 6,500 people have cameras, right? And so the other part is I think guys like being celebrities more and social media stars more than ever before. Like you guys, your generation, my son's generation, it's the TikTok age, it's the Instagram age. I played college football. We didn't have the internet, bro. We had dial-up. You guys don't even know what dial-up is. We didn't have a phone. We had a party line when I was a little kid in Miami Beach. We'd have to pick up the phone and there'd be 7 people on the phone. I tell people that story now, they look like I'm on drugs, right? And so that seismic shift has shifted into sports, right? You said you had Angel Reese here the other day. The WNBA, they're massive stars. I think that's the dynamic that shifted with the media age, the cell phone age, the internet age, is the players come in better. They come in more prepared. They come in more professional. They come in way more polished. Like I have a kid, Jaden Reed, Tank Dell, 2 of the best young wide receivers, Sidney Brown, Chase Brown, the twin brothers. Those guys are literal rock stars. Like they came into the training facility. They went here in Fort Lauderdale to XP, and I had never met them. I had like one dinner with them, but I wasn't like going to 10 games a year. They came in ready to work. They came in diligent about their bodies. They still stay that same way. Sydney and Chase live in my backyard. I have a guest house during the off season. Now that they have girls and families and stuff, that's going to change a little bit, but they're ready to work. And it's the other thing. Nobody takes 2-3 months off. I remember Jamie Collins. I don't know if anybody knows Jamie Collins, linebacker, played for the Patriots, made a lot of money with the Browns. Jamie was such a freak of nature football-wise. The season, the Patriots didn't usually end until February because they would win a Super Bowl or lose a Super Bowl. But when he was in Cleveland, they had a bad year. The season ended, let's say, January 12th. Jamie would not run or lift or work out until like June.
Oh, wow.
Those guys don't exist anymore. First of all, he's a freak of nature. He's still a freak of nature. He still looks like he could play, 15 snaps. But those guys just don't exist in our sport anymore because the guys understand they take care of their bodies better. They take care of their minds better. They're prepared to play better. But they also have more distractions than ever before, right? The distractions are, cell phone, Instagram, Raya. For my single clients, like that's the little devilish game player. For those of you who don't know, that's a dating website for famous people. And there are very many famous people on there that may play in the NFL, some of whom I may represent. And so all those things, are unique distractions that can fuck up your career, right? They can fuck up your career. The other thing I noticed too is more and more clients are getting married and having families younger.
Really?
They're more serious. Yeah, they're more serious. Guys are more serious. Like they lock in on a great woman and they realize that woman's going to help their trajectory. Like they say, it's true. It really is true, by the way. But in my career, behind every great athlete I represent, there's an amazing woman. DeMarcus's wife, Sasha, Eric Weddle's wife, Chanel. Jaden Reed has an amazing girlfriend that I imagine at one point in time they'll get married. Chase Brown has an incredible woman. Matt Gay's wife, one of the highest paid kickers in NFL history, Millie. There's a roller coaster component to your NFL career that what you want to do, especially when you're hiring an agent, is you want to have an agent that's been there and that's done it, right? So experience matters, because shit happens. Listen, shit happens. I've had clients get DUIs. I've had clients die. It's terrible. I had a client kill himself. It's terrible. And so you want to be able to have someone that rides that roller coaster with you and keeps you even. Every year is completely the opposite. So you come in with these massive expectations, and then 3 weeks into training camp, you pull your hamstring. And then you miss 4 weeks of training camp. You go into week 1 of the regular season. They don't even include you in the game plan, right? You get 1 ball thrown your way. The year before, you came in week 1, you had 9 targets. It's like, what the hell happened? And by the way, it just happened to Jaden Reed. He had 2 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, Thursday night game. I think he was like the most prop bet, and that's another component when you talk about gambling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, when you talk about gambling.
Yep.
And so he was like the most propped betted wide receiver in the whole season. And I only know this after the fact because I don't really care about the sports book stuff. And he didn't get a target. I don't think he had a catch. Like everybody in fantasy needed him because the playoffs are coming. And it's like, that's just football, man. It's a week to week. The best thing I can say about pro football in America for anyone listening and anyone that's a fan is no one understands how hard it is to stay up and be up for 20 straight weeks, plus training camp, plus the OTAs, which are the off-season team activities. And then the number one thing about pro football in America, it's a day-to-day business. It's not a week-to-week business. It's not a game-to-game business. It's literally Wednesday, you come in, you're ready to rock, you get the game plan. Thursday, you're like, what, I'm only in on third down? Like, what's going on? Like, DB kind of conversations and stuff like, well, I'm only in the nickel package and stuff like that. And so, it's tough because Miami has had such bad football for so long, and such high expectations that I always feel like you have the core Dolphins, right? I grew up here, Dolphin fan, obviously spent a lot of my time in South Jersey too. But, was a season ticket holder for the Miami Hurricanes and the Dolphins. And we almost, not your generation, but the generation right before me and my generation, we almost are hexed because we had Marino and all this amazing football. And then you get Cam Ward for 1 year. You have a couple weird games and you're not even in the playoffs, right?
Brutal this season.
And it's just a weird season because now it's like, well, wait, how do we get back? Because Cam Ward's obviously not going to be here. And so it's an interesting thing. Like there's almost like an abused fan component to being a Dolphin fan. Like every year, Sports Illustrated, I would remember, I don't even know if Sports Illustrated's still in business, would be like the Dolphins, this is their year. Hey, Dolphins had the best March in April. And I was responsible for a lot of it with Sean Smith and Olivier Vernon and Paul Solia and all these Dolphins players. And then they'd go out on the football field and, 9-7 or back down one of those 16 games and, now 9-8 or 10-7. And it's just not good enough. We're losing the first round of the playoffs. And, it's tough. There's a lot of great people in that building. It's kind of the same thing with the Hurricanes. It's like you build up all these expectations. They're going to be this amazing team, and they fall flat. Florida Gator fans, I have a ton of those fans. They thought this year was their year, and they might look like they now finally have a quarterback, this new kid, right? Florida State, 2 years ago, they were the best team in the country, right? What were they last?
Oh, last year they were undefeated, remember?
Yeah,
they were undefeated, and then they didn't make it to the playoff. Yeah. Quarterback got hurt. Yeah.
And so it's like the state of Florida. You got one team, Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady's gone, and so now that's over, right?
Hey, that's
Jacksonville sucks.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Miami's obviously mid-market. They're not great, they're not bad, they're not the best, and they're not the worst. But I don't think anybody thinks the Dolphins are going into Buffalo if they would somehow back into the playoffs and winning a game, or at Kansas City. That team's just not there yet. They've had injuries, and great players have gone down, and so it's one of those weird things. And then the Hurricanes don't make it, kind of falter at the end stuff. So I think that's also kind of a unique component. I think people become fans of players more than they've ever been before. Right? Fantasy football really shifted the dynamic where you used to be fans of the logo on the helmet. Right. Now you're fans of the name on the back of the jersey. And there's more individualism in pro football in America than ever before. Justin Jefferson is a fan favorite because he does the gritty. And so, I do believe that, it's an interesting part of football where basketball players used to really be just the celebrities. Right. Jason mentioned Dwayne Wade, right? Great guy, incredible human being, did so much for the community. The LeBrons, the Jordans, those kinds of guys, Charles Barkley. But now mid-market NFL players walk in and they're known. They have 3 million followers on TikTok and Instagram before they ever play a snap in the NFL, right? And so that's a very cool and awesome post-second career kind of thing where you can really make a lot of marketing money because you have a social media presence and because you're a known entity and because people like you and you're funny or you're goofy or, you're whatever. And so that's the dynamic shift. Speaking of dynamic shifts, I think everybody should have a glass.
I think it's time. I think
so. I'll give you the background on this. Please. Casa Loco. So a good buddy of mine who lives down the street from me is kind of a branding guru.
Cool.
And he knew that I had some experience in premium spirits with another tequila that I had invested in, and I had helped a company called Louis XIII sell a lot of a cognac called Louis XIII cognac, Remy Martin brand. And he said, like, do you think there's a market for a low cost, quality made tequila? And I was like, everybody in the world has a tequila. Do we really want to have a tequila? And he goes, well, let me explain to you. So this tequila is not existing. It doesn't have a distribution. We haven't raised the dollar. It's brand new to the United States of America. It came in 4 days ago.
Yeah. 4 days.
4 days ago. So it is a 100% college-focused, high-quality, low-cost tequila called Casa Loco. This would be your Blanco. That would be your Repo. And this is your Añejo. This is more your sipping on a big ice. This is your mixers. This is really good with lime. And so we're launching this tequila. We're raising money. We've got a really cool model, which is you're not going to see this in every Total Wine in America. You're going to see this on college campuses and around those liquor stores, those bars. It's a 21 to 30-year-old, let's make tequila fun again, spring break style. Like let's literally buy one, get one free. We have an unbelievable Rosa that is literally bright pink. We've got the first ever full flavor portfolio. So we'll have cucumber lime, we'll have orange, we'll have tamarindo, we'll have grapefruit, we'll have grape tequila, which tastes amazing. Yeah.
How many flavors are there?
So there'll be 14.
14.
Yeah, 14. So
Gotta
it's gonna
catch
be
'em all.
super cool. Yeah. I don't know if you have to catch them all. I don't know if Pokemon. Let's hope we're just half as successful as Pokemon, right? And then I'll buy the podcast. And I'll be the only guest every night. I'll just talk for 6 straight hours. People literally have the worst ratings ever. Like, I think a lot of people have already turned this off. But now they know that we're opening up tequila. So listen, grab ice, take a pause, or I'll keep bullshitting. Here's the other cool thing. If you're on a college campus and you bought this and you have your proof of purchase and you've drank too much, we'll pay for your ride home.
Oh,
that's a link for us to buy your Uber. Yeah, we're very socially conscious.
Yeah,
come on, here, crack in there. Come on, these are for you guys. This is for the
best
studio.
or just on ice, yeah.
While we have those open, let me just grab.
Yeah, man, do it here. This is the funnest part of the show for me. Talking about the sports agency business is like, oh god, another sports agent.
It's just like
look at the inside of the box.
Man,
it's pretty cool.
Branding is on.
See this, unreal. No, it's the colors, man. It's the colors that's really gonna make.
And look at the lettering. It's almost like kind of like a Greek, like Greek fraternity kind of vibe. Did you open one?
Yeah.
Did you notice there's like a little plastic ring?
I did.
Make sure it doesn't fall into your drink.
No,
that's my one little
took it off.
picadillo.
Yeah, but it's got to be there to ensure the freshness. I understand why it's there.
What would you like?
It's also a screw top, dude. Come on, like, it's fun.
Dude,
we're making tequila fun again. We're not like, listen, tequila has gotten a little douchey.
It's
very bougie.
Yes.
Like,
I don't really
no offense to the brands that are making billions of dollars. I don't need to ring a bell that's on the top, right, Jason?
All right, cheers, gang. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. To the podcast. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you.
These are the best shows.
To Casa Loco. So this is the shot. Look at that shot right there. There it is. That's a good shot.
Yeah, we're finally using the moving table.
So the moving table. That's, I mean, come on. Like, look at the Locos here. Look at this. Alex, tell me the connection here. You grew up with him in Jersey?
Yeah, we're cousins.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys start? How do you know each other?
So we went to college together at NYU.
Where'd you go?
NYU.
Wow.
Yeah. So we met each other. First year of college.
That's
actually.
awesome.
So it's been a long time.
My son wanted to go to NYU for a while. Did you go to film school there?
No.
Really?
I actually just graduated law school this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. I went to Seton Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a McJersey.
Do you want to do
born and
that?
bred.
No, this is your passion.
I think this is my passion. Yeah. We've had a lot of progress in this. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, man.
Where is this? Like, I'm the guy that, just full disclosure.
Yeah.
I've been on several podcasts.
Yeah.
None with Jason and Alex and Quality. There's a phone call coming in. I don't know who that is. But I've never listened to any of the podcasts I've been on. I filmed one that they filmed it on my camera, like my Apple camera, and they showed me a clip of what I looked like. And being a vain, older man, I refused to watch it because I hated how much I looked, how bad I looked.
Oh, come on.
Was it the vertical
Come on.
one with the former GM of Atlanta Hawks?
Atlanta Falcons.
Falcons?
Yeah. That vertical one was kind of sus, man. Yeah.
Was it with Thomas Dimitrov? He filmed me?
Yeah, actually.
Really? Oh, yeah, I think I did do one with him.
But it was vertical, and it's uploaded to YouTube, so it really doesn't look the greatest.
You guys watched my podcast?
But we prepare so much.
Wow. Alex, you've asked horrible questions. Did you think at any point in time today, when you landed from Newark International Airport, and you got picked up by your childhood friend, that you would be drinking tequila out of a coffee cup, have a microphone in front of you, be blocking Leon's camera?
Straight up blocking my camera, dude.
Straight. I didn't even have to see it. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Like, dude, the first thing we teach in film school is blocking. Oh, I was on a TV show. I was on where'd you go? Where'd you go to school?
Stevens, small tech school.
Nice. What are you studying?
I was studying computer science. I graduated.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Computer science, man.
See,
Guys are the wave of the future. Was the AI guy cool?
And,
it's scary.
It's scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I saw that robot. It like slipped yesterday going down and it corrected itself.
Tesla one?
Yeah. Holy fuck, dude.
Yep.
The future's here, man.
I robot.
I just ripped my 16-year-old. I love you, Asher. I just ripped my 16-year-old yesterday because he had his high school guidance counselor meeting and they bring the parents on and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, bro, the fucking world's going to pass you by like that. That.
Yep.
Like, it's faster than it's ever been.
Yep.
And money is being made in ways that, people like me never, ever could comprehend. Shout out Eugene Dorfman. I wish I'd bought all that Bitcoin at 20,000 like you begged me to. I would not be on this podcast right now. I'd be in Curacao, sitting on a fucking beach, drinking a margarita. No, I'm kidding. I'm a workaholic, so even if I was a billionaire, I would still be doing this.
You got love for the game. You got love for the game.
Yeah, this is my passion. Leon's getting lit. So you were TVR too at NYU?
No, I was sports management.
Really?
Yeah, I focused actually in sports law.
Really?
But we graduated in COVID, so the whole sports agency went down.
You
So
work for a sports agency?
no, I worked for the Brooklyn Nets, and then
Is that Joseph Asai?
Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph.
He just invested in an NFL team yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, his private equity group. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. And I became a private chef and worked my way
wow.
up to a 2-mission restaurant,
Really? Where'd you work?
Saga in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
So one of my closest friends is the chef de cuisine at the #1 restaurant in the world, Le Bernardin. Anthony Gray. Great guy. If you ever want him on, he's a Philly guy. He's a big fucking Eagles fan. He's like the most, listen to me, true story. I took Sydney Brown. So my wife and I were in Manhattan, and I'm a big foodie because I'm a big wino. When you start to like wine, of course, you start to like food. And Japanese food's my pinnacle. That's my favorite. But
You got to go to Japan.
But we're going this summer
Hell yeah.
for 21 days and with the kids. And so we're sitting in the restaurant and I had made a change from a table for 2 to a table for 3, which is very rare at Le Bernardin. They're just so busy. Yeah. And I was like, if there's any way to do it, my Eagles client is going to drive up from Philly to come. And the email back was, oh, we don't get a lot of Philadelphia Eagles here. 100%. Who is it? Would you mind telling us? And I was like, oh, it's Sidney Brown. He was a 3rd round pick last year. His twin brother plays running back for the Bengals. And they wrote back, our chef. So I'm thinking Eric Rapay. Yeah, there you go, Leon. Get after it.
Figured Eric Rapay got nervous.
So my wife and I, sit down to dinner, and it was a very unique table where it was my wife and I sitting like you and I are, and then Sydney sat at like a triangle table. And they're like, listen, we don't have like the most impressive kitchen, like a Per Se or a French Laundry or, Alinea, some of the amazing restaurants here in the States. And then obviously overseas, there's all sorts of great restaurants that obviously, if you worked at Saga. And so they're like, would you come take a tour of our kitchen? And it was weird because we had ordered the tasting, but they were just pounding us with fish. It's a fish only restaurant. Just every fucking, and I was like, we're getting extra plates of stuff and all. So we get in the back and I meet this little Italian guy, Anthony Gray, and he's like, yeah, dude, I'm the biggest Eagles fan in the world. Like Sydney being here, like I'm blown away. And so he and I become buddies. His wife and I become buddies. They come down during training camp. There's a Michelin star restaurant in the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. So I bring all my Eagles clients. Sydney comes. Anthony and his wife Justina come. We have like a great wine dinner and we talk food. We talk about The Bear, which is one of the best shows ever done.
Yep.
For those of you, shout out Bear. You should all watch that show. Jeremy Allen White.
So
and so it's just like, because I think I love the art of trying to be the best cuisine and spirits and wine, obviously. I love that how much time it takes to get to being a chef in a 2-star restaurant. It's pretty awesome. Worst 3 years of your life, definitely. And the best.
It was
torture.
It was intense.
Yeah, it's torture.
First,
and you're never doing that again? Or
I wasn't a chef. I was a cook.
Yeah, but you're still being yelled at. And,
yeah.
Well, they may not be yellers at Saga. Some restaurants are yellers and some aren't.
Definitely.
Sounds like there were some yellers, some old yellers.
So were you there as they ascended to 2 stars, or were you there?
I was there when they already had 2 stars.
Okay, so even harder because so for those of you who don't know, getting to the stars is like you're climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Keeping the stars is really the hardest part.
Yeah.
So my buddy owns an incredible restaurant in Manhattan called Brooklyn Chef's Table at Brooklyn Fair.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they moved from Brooklyn to Midtown. And I was invited to an absolutely unbelievable dinner there with some real big sports executives, the GM of the Yankees and the Nets, or the Knicks, the assistant GM, and some guys I've never met. And, Leon Rose was there, and I'm sitting across from Leon, and you're like, you were the biggest agent, LeBron's agent, CAA, and, you just have done incredible things. And now, you're one of the first former agent GMs in basketball. And it's just like cool to pick those men's brains and really get like Omar Minaya was there from the Yankees, who used to be the GM of the Mets, and just an incredible human being. We became friends and stuff like that. And it's crazy to see like what happened with Sosa and Soto and all that stuff. And so
let's go. I'm a huge
you're a Mets fan.
Huge Mets fan.
I couldn't tell. Okay, there you go. It's a house divided tonight.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna wake up with Alex beating you. You might wake up with Alex beating you with a baseball bat.
I'll take it. I got 15 years to win multiple chips. I'm good. One night of baseball bat's good with me.
For those of you that don't know baseball, just because you get one good player is not the way you win a World Series.
Absolutely not.
So, but I'm more surprised at that deal not because of the ludicrous numbers. The years are a little bit ridiculous. 15 years for any athlete in the world is kind of silly. How many guys ever play 15? He's already played, what, 6 or 7? Not a lot of big league guys get 21 years. And obviously I have experience because my first job in sports was with the Marlins and Dave Dombrowski. But in the lockout season of 94 before any of you guys were born. And so, that's crazy to say. And so what's interesting to me about Soto's deal is that from what I understand, and you're a Yankee fan, you're a Mets fan, the difference was $5 million.
Yeah, but $5 million and an extra year. So yeah,
He wanted more money, or he wanted less years. The Yankees wanted 16 years versus 15.
Yes, and the Mets.
And the Yankees wouldn't just drop a year to beat it.
The Mets contract also had about, I believe, 50
million more
in incentives.
there's so many incentives, and there's all these issues that he apparently had with the Yankees that they wouldn't give his family a suite and like all this stuff. And there's also the elements.
That's a great segue to sports management.
Yeah.
These players come in with real parents and real mentors that the organization better fucking respect.
Yeah.
Like I gotta tell you this, Tank Dell has a manager.
Yeah.
Unbelievable guy. Shout out Sosa. I wish I had enough money to hire him today because he gets it and he understands, like, this is my brother, my friend, my partner, and we're gonna win together. And if he needs something, my job is to make sure it fucking happens, but also be a good advisor, right? And so I think that NBA factor where that was common, like, I don't know if you remember the article of Derrick Rose back in the ESPN magazine, which I don't think even exists anymore. He had like 180 people on his payroll. His barber, a guy that held his cell phone. They were like, this is how, I don't know if it was Derrick Rose, I might be wrong, but it was somebody from the Bulls, I remember, and it was like a big spread in the middle of the magazine. And it was 60 people or whatever, not 180, or 20 people, whatever. And I remember being an agent, I was like, oh, fuck, I got to deal with all these fucking people. Like, oh my God, right? And that's scary. But there are players that come with a very strong mom or a very strong dad or a very strong both. And you better make sure, you're a sports management guy that went into the culinary institute, the culinary industry, and you're an NYU guy and you're a computer engineer guy. But titans of industry usually have really great people behind them. And the really good athletes, like you saw Soto celebrate with his boys in his hot tub, like, sure, a little weird and corny, and they're pouring beer on his head, but like, that's his core. That's his core. And so always respect the core. And so I didn't know that about the Yankees, that they fucked up there, but it doesn't surprise me. There's a hubris in pro sports in America, especially with the bigger organizations and teams that are New York based or LA based, that they think their shit doesn't stink. And unfortunately it does. And then you get slapped in the face and you lose a talent like Soto. Now I don't know him well. Is he the difference maker for the Mets?
I mean, this is a team that, he has to be, but this is a team that was 4-2, right? Like in the National Championship Series, it's an excellent Dodgers team, right? I mean, they were so close.
And the Dodgers obviously have Ohtani, who's obviously a generational talent.
And Ohtani's going nowhere, right? Like the AL is weaker than the NL right now. I think that everybody knows that. And so like the NL, they needed the ability to compete with the Dodgers, right? And so they needed to do this to maintain
relevance. What's the Lux tax on that deal? Couple $100 million?
It's
paying out 9% every dollar.
Yeah.
So it's a $1.5 billion player.
Effectively, yeah. Well, then the Mets also have a lot of expiring contracts. Like if you think about it,
did you get your jersey already?
I haven't, but I'm so stoked that the Fanatics stopped screwing up the jerseys, man. Like now,
You mean Nike? Well, baseball jerseys that were ripping and tearing and looked like
whoever issue it was, Fanatics,
That's
Nike.
for basketball too.
Were they bad?
Yeah, like 5 years ago, it was really bad.
Yeah, so
jerseys suck. They're tearaway jerseys.
Nikes, dude.
But the Soto jersey.
Well, I mean, Michael's taking over the whole sports business.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be clear.
The letters that say Soto are larger now.
He ate at Saga one night. It was really cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Good guy.
Yeah, he was with a bunch of investors.
Yeah. Damn. Big time.
I've met him twice, and I found him to be very transparent, which is rare for mega billionaires, right?
Yep.
Like pretty much I don't want to say a normal guy, but like he
built his thing, so
he built it from scratch. He's a real guy. Yeah. He's available. He's transparent. He spoke to all the rookies in the 2023 draft class or 2023. Tank, Jade, and Chase were there. They got to see their jersey for the first time. We were all in LA. It was a cool event that the NFLPA puts on, and Michael, seemed like a good dude. There was a party the next day at his big mansion in Beverly Hills that my dog died, and I unfortunately had to fly back to Florida. But I missed it. But no, it's cool. And I mean, it's not cool, but things die. Yeah. And so, he always seemed like a real self-made workaholic guy that deserves what he has, right? Like you always want to see that.
Yeah.
I guess like if we're gonna think more about like self-made workaholic people, let's think about you a bit. Just think about your
Fucking
own background.
segways.com, baby. What a segue. And I'm not talking about the scooter.
We're pros. No, like if you were to take all of your success, think about it like and boil it down to like one or two things. Let's not say hard work because it seems like it's pretty clear that that's it. Some like more specific.
Yeah,
things.
I mean, listen, for those of you who don't know my background, I'll go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
I come from a very poor family. I'm a welfare kid, single mom, raised me. I had sporadic moments with my father who I don't have contact with at all. But I did spend 2 years of high school in New Jersey with my father on the Jersey Shore and some really good summers. But more or less, I'm a mama's boy. And so I think my mother being a saleswoman who had to lug big suitcases full of sunglasses and eyeglasses for Luxottica and Silhouette, which are, is one of the biggest eyeglass companies in the world here in South Florida, taught me about the hard work right. But then you fuck up, a little bit spoiled once my mom becoming successful. And, I end up getting into an okay college, end up getting into a fairly good law school, although now it's much better than it was when I went there. And I was always someone that wanted to be in sports, obviously realized very early I wasn't going to be a pro athlete. And so when you get lucky, and I think that really my story is more about just luck. I was at the Shell station on 27th Avenue in Coconut Grove. I'd gotten pulled over by a cop for having a broken right taillight. And Lamar Thomas, who played at the University of Miami, was on the Miami Dolphins, pulls up in this ugly ass green Range Rover. And I recognized him. And he walks in, and when he walks out of the Shell station, I literally jump in front of him. And I'm like, I just tell me about the sports agency business. And it's December of 1995. So it's how many years ago is that? I'm not great at math and when it comes to anything but 3%.
29.
So it's 29 years ago, almost to the day, let's say. And Lamar was very, very hastily with me. He's like, yeah, man, and I'm like, no, I want to be an agent. I go to law school. I work for Lamar, blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing my, fast pitch. And he's like, yo, take my pager number and beat me. Pager number. Wow. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, all right. Cell phones weren't really a thing. You would send a message to a digital device. Anyway, fuck that. And so
that's what Google's for.
So Google it. And so Lamar Thomas became like my aspiration. I have to figure out a way to make money for Lamar and get him to be my client. Now, he had already had a lawyer doing his contract stuff. And so I would say from the day I met him until mid-January, for about 40 days or 50 days, I beeped him every day. That's when you page someone. I beeped him every day. And what I was doing while I was doing that was I was lying to companies in the phone book. For those of you who don't know, there used to be a way to call companies in a big book, yellow pages or white pages in a phone book. You get these big, thick, stupid wastes of trees. And I would call those companies and say, hey, I do Lamar Thomas's marketing. And eventually I had some companies that were interested. And so I'd 911 page them, which meant it was an emergency. Please call me back. Call me fucking back. One day he finally calls me back and he goes, yo, man, who the fuck is this? And I was like, oh, I remember if you met me, you were at the Shell station. He was like, oh yeah, man, what's up? I was like, oh, listen, I'm doing some promotions at some bars. I'm doing a party tonight, Thursday night at Dan Marino's Sports Bar. He goes, oh man, we're right next door. We're at Hooters. By the time he said I had hung up the phone and sprinted out of my apartment on Virginia Street and ran 6 blocks as fast as I ever ran having played college football. I ran and I got up to the second floor where Hooters was in Coconut Grove. I don't know if it's still there in whatever the Cocoa Walk. And I got one of those shitty brown paper towels that feel like sandpaper. And I wiped the sweat off. And I found one of the waitresses and I was like, yo, are there a bunch of football players at a table over there? She goes, yeah, they've ordered 15 orders of crab legs and wings. And I walked in cool as a cucumber. And 8 of the guys at the table, I instantly recognized. It was players that had gotten drafted in the first round, Miami Hurricane guys. It was a cool group of people. And I sat down and Lamar, to his credit, was like, yo, this is the kid. And that really started my career. And I would show up, I'd drive up to Davie almost every day because the Dolphins facility had just moved out to the country club and to Nova Southeastern University. And now obviously it's back down in Miami Gardens. And Lamar became my first marketing client. And then he brought me in and would get me passes. Jimmy Johnson was the head coach back then. And so I'd be on the sidelines and I'd walk up to another guy and then I'd walk up to the draft pick and I'd be like, hey, look, I'm just going to grind. And so what I did, and I know that this isn't the 2-word or 4-word answer that you wanted, what I did is I tried to infiltrate the industry without really knowing anyone. And I didn't have anybody to count on. I didn't have people to call on or talk to. And so for really 2 or 3 years, I kind of became a thorn in the side, but I was visible. just here in Miami. At the same time, I would go out at night relentlessly, making sure I'd see other players. And I met a young guy who ran track at Florida. He's a big nightclub party impresario now. I'll leave his name out of the chat just in case he doesn't want to be affiliated with me any longer. But I love him dearly. And he knew a bunch of players at the University of Florida because he ran track. And I basically said to him, like, let me help you. And so almost every weekend for 2 years, I would drive the 5 hours to UF. And it resulted in a couple of high draft picks, second and third rounders, then eventually first rounders. And really, I took off. Then in 2001, everything got stolen from me. 2001. Yes, I'm old. And so 2001, my whole sports agency, which had 70 plus players and $5 million, I had partners that were unscrupulous guys, and they took my whole life from me.
Oh, man.
And I literally went from like driving a nice BMW, living in a sick condo, having a dog, having money in the bank, to spending all my money on lawyers at White & Case, a law firm here in Miami, and having to move back into my mom's house for almost 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And the whole time that was going on, the players were like, why are you not part of my life anymore? And so I realized there was massive fraud that was committed against me. But when you have a setback and you don't have the money, because I had no income coming in, it's hard to be communicative. Like, I couldn't go to games, I couldn't fly around the country. And I had two veteran guys that stuck with me, Steven Davis and Mike Anderson, the running back. And he because I had done so many marketing deals for those guys, I was like almost essential to their lives and their careers. And then in 2022, around this time of year, 2002, around November, December, I got word that the guy that really fucked me over was being thrown out of the business for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, I remember all of a sudden my phone started ringing again. Players started calling me, guys that I had been telling, like, hey, I'm the good guy. I'm being fucked. And it was like this incredible whirlwind, probably 8 to 10 veteran guys that had been with us, me and this former guy who shall remain nameless. And so they all started coming back to me. And then 2003, keep saying, I want to say 2023, 2003, I'm old. I had a good free agency window. Steven Davis got a $36 million deal to go to the Carolina Panthers. Todd Sauerbrunn became the highest paid punter in NFL history. And it was like, okay, I'm actually really fucking good at this. Now everybody sees it was me, right? And it was like vindication. And so from really 2022 until 2002 until 2021, thank you, Leon, it was me on my own. And then I met this amazing guy going into Eric Weddle's free agency window named Brian McIntyre, who was writing these really inside football stories about like what analytics mean before anyone had analytics. And so I was like, hey, dude, like, you want to leave Yahoo Sports and come with me and let's see what the fuck we can do? And he's been with me ever since. And we were I was the first agent, and we were the first agency that had a full-time analytics department. Now, now analytics is fucking any Tom, Dick, and Harry on Instagram thinks they know what they're talking about in roster management and stuff. And so then we start growing, and we have big success in 2011 and 2012 and 2013, 2014. We get to 2015, and a bunch of veteran guys have now fired their agents to hire me, and they're leaving, mega firms. They're leaving like the biggest of the big dogs, all the ones that I've mentioned previously. And, I meet Ness, this young kid who's 15, 16-year-old Orthodox Jewish kid from Brooklyn. And I'm like, listen, man, just DM me on Twitter and like, I'll give you an internship, because you could feel the passion, right? Yeah. Like, you could feel you guys. And so, when you feel and you meet people who love something and are passionate for something. And so my success word is passion. And I think my motto is let's be great, because I've inherited it from Eric, but passion drives everything. And so if you're not fucking pumped to get up in the morning and represent these men and work for these families, you're in the wrong dance. You're in the wrong business, right? And the sacrifices that my wife and my kids make and have made for years and years and years, you hope and you pray that they understand when you're buried and you're in the ground that you're trying to do right by people, right? Right. And so I think for leadership, or for your collective, or for whatever anyone else out there is listening to, just learn to love what you love, and learn that when you love what you love, success will come. You might have listen, I just sold my company, and after 3.5 years, we're out at the company because it just didn't work. The personalities didn't clash. I don't know that it was a failure. Like, I think the company that acquired us probably looks at it as like, it was just not a great fit from the start. And you don't know, like, I had multiple offers to acquire me. I was very flattered and humbled by it. and we joined forces, and they're great people. They run a huge agency. They're very, very successful in the sports that they're successful in. And they were really good people. And at some point in time, I think we just lost the path. And now there's a new chapter when this podcast airs that Ness and I'll have together. He'll be my 50-50 partner, giving up 50% of my equity, and he'll run the business with me. And you get to watch the pupil who was, a young kid for 10 years now, become an agent, become super successful. I think he'll be the biggest agent on the planet. And he does it while remaining faithful to his religion. Brian's still involved. And there's an excitement to it because I think we have a different path and a different plan than the company we were acquired by. And I like that it's going to only be people that are just like us. And so we have acquisitions that are coming up already, even though we're not out of our existing deal. We know that the end is nigh, right? By the time this airs, we'll be months past, the expiration of the deal. And that company will still be involved in our lives in a couple ways. They'll still do marketing for some of our guys. We'll still owe them some money on some tails and stuff like that. And so, when you look at the sports management industry, there's just not a lot of guys like us left that are these solo practitioners. And the ones that are really good are good and successful because of their passion. And, I think it's a great way to wrap up this podcast. Your passion shows and shines through with your preparation, your attention to detail, obviously this incredible setup, your friendships, the guys flying from out of the country, the fact that you guys are willing to fly away for 2-3 months to do this. And, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you guys and would absolutely help you in every way I can with other guests and, hopefully come back another time. And how do you pronounce this podcast again?
Koios. Koios is the Greek titan of intelligence and foresight.
The Greek titan of I was trying to figure out what it is. Koios.
Yeah.
I like it.
And
the wise owl, obviously.
Yeah,
the wise owl.
In the mythology, he's always with an owl. Koios is always an owl. So I
feel like I should know that from my Remember the Titans days when it was like not Remember the Titans, the football show. There was you got, how many more questions?
We have a segment that we haven't done that we typically do.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's called This or That.
This or That. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right.
This or That. Introducing the world famous Koios Collective segment. This or That with David Canter.
This or that. Would you rather have an existing client sign a big deal, big contract, or land a new client?
Oh, big client, new existing client get paid. Yeah. Absolutely. They work too hard. Yeah. They deserve it.
Mentoring a rookie or managing a veteran?
Veterans are my heart and soul, man.
Yeah.
I would say Ness likes the rookies and I like the veterans. Like my negative reputation in the industry is we've been number 1 or number 2 in the last 10 or 12 years at getting veterans to leave their agents and hire us. And I think that we bring a little salt and pepper to them that maybe some of the other agents don't do. Yeah. Part of the problem with our industry, and I know it's not part of this or that to have a big dissertation after this, but is just because they're bigger or just because they've represented 100 of your friends and teammates doesn't mean they're going to fit you, right? Yeah. And so I think where we've really been great is getting guys like an Andre James or DeMarcus Walker who, have been unhappy with their agents and really, taking their contracts and their careers to a different level.
Favorite movie between these two, Friday Night Lights or Draft Day?
Oh, God, those are terrible movies. Draft Day is one of the worst movies ever made, and I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan. Really? Like Draft Days, and I have so many friends in the movie. I have a bunch of people that I know in the movie, but Draft Day is like a clown show movie. Like honestly, we make fun of it all the time because we have buddies that are in the movie that are celebrity, people. And so Friday Night Lights definitely.
Okay.
Shout out Odessa Permian High School.
Would you rather get a client a shoe deal or a TV commercial?
TV commercial, 1,000 times.
Why is there
Chase and Sidney Brown national TV commercial Super Bowl Sunday? It's just more fun, and they like it more, right? Like they like it more, and also there's an ego gratification component. Like Tank Dell's in 2 national Dick's commercials. DeMarcus Lawrence is in hundreds of commercials. Right now, I mean, he's crushing it. But I think the players like the longevity of a TV commercial versus the cleats are just like you wear on the field. Also remember, football, it's just not bigger. They're not NBA deals, right? Yeah. You're not getting 3, 4, 5 million from Lanning or Nike or Adidas. This is not realistic, right? There's 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 guys, but it's not every guy.
Gotcha. Do you want to see the NFL expand to Europe?
Can't wait.
Or
there's no, do I want to see it? It's happening. It's guaranteed. Yeah. 3 games in Germany next year.
Would you rather sign a big?
Wait, what was the other part of the question?
Or have it stay in the U.S.?
No. I love the globe. I'm all about the world.
Pro globe.
If I could, the truth of the matter is, and most people who know me intimately know this. If I could live in Europe, and do exactly what I do. But for soccer players, like I would switch in an instant. I mean, obviously it's not possible. I don't speak other languages and everything, but like soccer, global football has been my passion for a long time, since the early 90s, and just don't have the knowledge base of it. But the idea of being able to like live in Tuscany in a villa and like just drive 2 hours to Rome and get on a plane and go to London and watch Chelsea, Man City, like, fuck, dude, that's like so, romantic and gorgeous and amazing to me. So yeah. So when I win the lottery, or he gives me another, coin meme stock, that's going to be, I'll run my sports business. Ness will run the sports business, and I'll be living in a villa in Tuscany. I got young kids though, dude. I got a 2-year-old, I got a 9-year-old, I got a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So.
Well, you guys are going to Japan.
It'll be a long time before I'm living in Tuscany and retired, unless Casa Loco becomes $1 billion brand, and then maybe my shares will be worth $50.
We have a couple more questions.
Please, this or that.
Which is more manageable, managing off-field drama or on-field slumps as an agent?
Wow, that's an incredibly great question. That is probably the single best question I've ever been asked in 29 years in the sports business. Really? Yeah. That is such a great question that I don't think there's a this or that answer. Off the field drama is a procedure. We have a red alert signal. We have a law firm and a legal team that steps in. On field drama is so difficult because you're just not in control. You're managing personalities. So the on-field drama, the on-field not involved in the game plan, the slump, the things like that, it's really hard. Bill Belichick, who obviously is now a college football head coach, but Bill and I used to have this joke all the time where if I would call Scott Pioli when he was the general manager, or Nick, who's now the general manager of the Texans, when Nick worked with Bill, they would immediately say, just talk to BB. And so of course I'd call Bill. And I'm not name dropping Bill Belichick here. I'm just saying, and Bill would be like, not fucking discussing it. Like, fuck you. It's not your role. You're the agent. If the kid has a problem, tell the kid to walk into my office, right? Well, guess what? It's hard to tell your player, hey, come walk in the fucking head coach's office because you're pissed off that you only had one catch this week, or you're pissed off that you're only playing on third down and they didn't put a blitz package in and stuff. And so again, the experience of an agent lets you know that what you need is someone who's been there, who's rode the roller coaster and can keep you even keeled. Because what happened last week is definitely not destined to repeat itself this week, right? I have a very high profile player who's having an unbelievable season. Couldn't be more proud of him. He's been emotionally difficult for me because he's gotten free agent deals that weren't up to par, but because he just wasn't, teams didn't think he was that great. He just didn't play as great, or he was on a team that traded away a lot of their best players. And early this year, week 1 and week 2, him and his wife were losing their minds. Losing their minds. Like, this is the wrong fit. This is the wrong culture. And so I called the D coordinator, who I know very well and very intimately, and we were very close friends. And I hope he gets a head coaching job. And I said, hey, like, where are we? And he goes, dude, it's fucking week 1 and week 2. These are preseason games. Give me 5 weeks. This kid's going to wear the green dot. This kid's going to be my defensive captain. This kid's going to be a superstar. And now we're whatever we are, week 14, 15, 16, and he's staring down the barrel of a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal. And I said this to him on the phone the other day. I was like, aren't you glad you trusted me? Aren't you glad you trusted the relationship with the guy that's calling the defense? And aren't you glad you stuck by it and rode it out, right? Not that he had an option. He wasn't, but he mentioned week 2, like, maybe I need to get traded. And it's like, bro, come on. Like, fuck. Like, we're week 2. Like, relax.
Yeah.
Like, and so sometimes you have to do that. So I would say, like, to get back to your question, I would say the off the field drama, there's a playbook, right? Some situations are just whacked and crazy and insane, but there's a playbook. The on field drama, locker room, building, we're not there.
Yeah.
We're not in the building. Even when we fly there and go in, we're there at like an arm's length distance. There's a publicist and a, blah, blah, blah. So moving on. Next question. This or that?
Final question. Dominating at the
We made it to the end.
Dominating at the combine or impressing at the pro day?
Dominating the combine.
Oh, old school combine.
No, but remember, the combine is the only place in the world where every GM, every head coach, every college scouting director is there. Like, you'll have pro day conflicts where Michigan will have the same day as, Michigan State or Utah, and you won't get all the eyes on you. And so the other thing is once you dominate at the combine, you can chill out a little bit, right? You don't have to run the 40 or the short shuttle at your pro day. You don't have to vertical jump or do a bench press and stuff. And so the pro day almost becomes like an expose of your football skills where you just do the position stuff and you ride off into the sunset. I mean, I remember, listen, Jaden and Tank crushed the combine, Sydney and Chase crushed the combine, and then pro day was like kind of a vacation. It's like you're there to watch your homies and like be like, hey, great job, good 40, buddy, great job. Oh wow, you did 22 on the bench, cool. I did that 4 weeks ago, right? And so also the combine is an honor. Yeah. It's an invite-only event that you get the privilege to be there. It's globally televised. It's the Shorts Olympics. It's the only place in pro football in America where at the same time, every agent, every GM, every head coach, a lot of the owners, or certainly parts of the ownership group, you're also negotiating the free agents that are coming up a week or two later in the free agent window. You're getting the barometer of the market of where your guy is going to be paid financially so you can prep him for the negotiation window and things like that. And you're in the constant information gathering section of your draft picks. And so what happens, and it happened, I remember this past year with Cole Bishop, we went to the Senior Bowl. God, I hope Beanie doesn't get pissed off for me for saying this. So Brandon Beane was literally the first guy me, Ness, and Brian see at the Senior Bowl. And Cole Bishop is warming up on the sideline, and I'm pointing like we're down. Jason, I'm not pointing at you. And Cole Bishop's warming up, and I literally look at Brandon Beane, and I go, there's your second round pick safety that you're drafting. And he goes, who? Cole Bishop. And he goes, you might be right.
Call your shot.
And it was the 60th pick overall. Bill stayed there the whole time. I knew they were always an interested team. Cole ran well, tested well, everything. 60th pick overall, Cole Bishop Bills. So I'm on the phone with Beanie like maybe 40 minutes later, and he goes, you fucking called this at the Senior Bowl. He goes, that doesn't happen often, right? And so it's knowing the teams, knowing the industry, knowing the vibe. And then at the combine, you kind of solidify what your thoughts are. And then teams at the combine know which rookies they can sign or draft so they don't have to spend that money on the veterans. Alex, come on.
Wow. So you mentioned into the microphone, sir. You mentioned it's the old podcast.
This is, I didn't know that. You mentioned being at the combine as an agent talking to GMs. And you also mentioned earlier having dinner with Leon Rose, who was an agent.
Well,
was out.
totally different scenarios.
Now president of the Nets.
Sure.
Could you ever see yourself the general manager?
I would crush the business.
I have often said, and this is going to be the most arrogant thing I'll say on this, I know more about football than 98% of the teams in the NFL. Yeah. Because it's a personality thing first, right? And so sure, we can give them personality exams, and sure, we can watch film, and sure, we can see them run in the Shorts Olympics, but there's components to the things that maybe 8 or 10 of the best agents in the industry know. And I'm putting the best up there. Joel Siegel, Drew Rosenhaus, David Mulugeta, Todd France, Jared Fox does a great job. Nicole Lynn's the new next great generation, that we know people. And at the end of the day, the business is still managing people. And so where I think, really, truly, it's a great question. I think my skill set at some point in time is almost hindered because I can only represent the guys I represent, right? But I could tell teams like, oh, wait, you're doing a deal against that agent? Dude, I can tell you exactly how to crush that guy or that girl, right? Or I could tell you, hey, you're in for a real battle because that person is very difficult and very skilled, right? And so just like any other industry in the world, there's really elite level general managers and elite level agents, and there's really bad ones. And obviously football is the ultimate microcosm, because just because a GM's team is bad doesn't mean they're bad at their job, right? I'll give you a good example. Like the Cleveland Browns have had a real rough go of it, but they're not a bad football team. Andrew Berry is certainly not a bad general manager, right? The Vikings have had this crazy, weird roller coaster where, and Kwesi obviously used to work with Andrew, where, they had this quarterback get hurt, and look how good they are, right? So that's coaching, that's front office, that's personnel groupings, that's management, and that's the Wilfs, that's Mark and Ziggy Wilf, the owners of that team. The Dolphins are a team that, Chris and I have known each other 29 years. His dad drafted my first client in the NFL. And, you look at Mike and it's like, fuck, that team is right there. Just a couple injuries. Tua gets the concussion. Things go south, and that's football in America, right? I don't think there's anybody in the world that would say John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan aren't elite at their job, but the Niners have been just battered and bruised, from even before the season started with Christian's Achilles and all the other injuries. And so, you look at it, and then you look at a team like the Rams, and how are they winning? Like it's Matt Stafford and some guys. I saw the game last night. He threw the ball to a tight end. I didn't even know the fuck the guy was. And I'm an agent, right? Yeah. They're not dominating games, but they're just winning, right? You're getting field goals and stuff. And you look at the Jets. They went all in. They signed Aaron Rodgers. They brought in all of his buddies and friends. And Joe Douglas, one of my closest friends in the business. Greg Najema, one of my favorite guys. Awesome front office. I actually think those guys did an amazing job under the restrictions of what Woody Johnson and Chris Johnson wanted the Jets to look like. And unfortunately, the wheels fell off last year. specifically a wheel fell off, right? He tore his Achilles.
Yep.
And then this year, he's just not the same guy, and he's older, and he's recovering, and the team never gelled, and they have a lot of fucking talent though. They have a lot of talent. So sometimes just because the general manager, doesn't have a good football product on the field isn't because the general manager didn't do a good job, right? Joe got fired, right? Like there's a bunch of the people that I mentioned, they're not going to get fired, but they're on their last shot, right? And so, I think back to like Jeff Ireland, who was the Dolphins general manager for a while. He's been incredibly great at drafting players on the Saints. But as a general manager, he got fired. He got fired because they didn't have a quarterback. They didn't have a good running game. Their defense, they let too many good free agents leave. And so there's all these factors that people on the street don't understand that a guy like me not only knows, but understands intimately and would be able to help an organization immensely. Now, you'd have to sell it to Perry, my wife, that we would move to, Chicago, let's say, although Ryan's not getting fired anytime soon, and live in the Windy City with our kids, and I'd have a GM job for 3 or 4 years where I'd actually sleep in the office 20 hours a day because I'm an obsessed lunatic. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You never know. And I think if I've realized anything from this interview, it's that you really know, you never know where life's going to take you.
No doubt.
The benefit to putting yourself out there constantly is definitely there.
You have to.
Your story
You have to
starts.
be transparent with people.
Yeah. I mean, David, your story starts, right? Like you said, you're a UM law student. I was a law student too. And I know what it's like to just be studying, be thinking about what you want to do afterwards. It's tough because there's so many different paths.
You studied when you were in law school? I was promoting and running a sports agency. I should have mentioned that I literally barely went to class. They had a different regulations and rules when I went to law school.
Well,
you could still get a degree without being present most of the time. Now you have like a attendance requirement.
Yeah. The ABA has a lot of rules.
You also went to probably a better law school than me.
I don't know. But yeah.
Who cares? You're not a lawyer anymore.
Regardless, you did
Mom,
that.
be proud. Dad, be proud.
Yeah.
Doing a great job. He's hanging out here in the concrete jungle.
Yeah. But yeah, you started by putting yourself out there literally at a gas station, right? As a student, right? You ended up finding yourself into an incredible room, but you put yourself out there in the right table. And then it led to this career today where you're talking to us about all of your experiences over 30 years and also presenting to us a tequila brand that's going to maybe change the way that people are drinking at college campuses, and you're even giving them rides home. And so here's where we're at, David. We're here today showcasing the people that we think are building the future. You've been building it for a while. You're going to continue to build it. You're having a new agency. We'd love to continue to be a part of your journey too. And we're really grateful you spent your time with us, especially on this wonderful Friday night.
Means a lot to me. I say this all the time. I'm very lucky because I have eternal youth. And the eternal youth is being around young men like yourselves that are the future, the titans of the industry, having a podcast, being in an incredible studio like this, really a first experience for me. I've been in TV studios and stuff like that, but this is really unique. You got Jason, running the controls here. You got Alex, dipping in here and enjoying it. I love your company. I love your energy. Leon, you've been a tremendous question answerer and question asker and moderator, and you're the even keel here.
Yeah.
He's the Italian passion. I can feel it.
Yeah.
But I say this all the time, and I joke to Ness. I'm 51 years old. I feel like I've never worked a day in my life. This is what I'm gonna end you with.
Yep.
Being around young people, young athletes, every year they stay the same age and I get older, right? That's a joke from a Matthew McConaughey movie, but it's the truth. I'm very blessed and lucky that my industry stays young, and it keeps me young, and it keeps me passionate, it keeps me motivated, keeps me excited. And you guys were really seriously, this is serious shit. I'm saying that in all sincerity. You came in ready to rock. You came in prepared. You're professionals, and I'm excited for your journey. And if I can help in any way, I'm honored and privileged that you guys invited me to be here. Very gracious, grateful, and appreciative that I got the invite, and I hope we can do this again.
Thank you, David. One last thing is where can people find you and your brands?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I think Instagram I'm David E. My middle name Canter, Canter, and Twitter I'm David Canter, Canter. You can email me, you can call me. I'm very easy to get in touch with. I'm not a hider by any stretch, and I welcome it, and I'm excited for what you guys are doing because I think it has broad reach that's very unique.
All right, cheers. Thank you, David.
Cheers, guys. We say l'chaim
L'chaim.
in Judaism.
Friday.